Top 10 countries that consume the most whiskey in the world. Scotch whiskey is one of the world's most famous styles of the alcoholic beverage consumed by several countries around the world and all inhabited continents. It is generally produced at a single distillery using only malted barley as the grain, a type that is famously known as single malt. Rules in the UK dictate that a whiskey can be called Scotch only if it has been produced and bottled in Scotland. While Scotland and the United States are the obvious contenders for most whiskies produced, such is not the case when it comes to whiskey consumption. So, which country consumes the most Scotch whiskey overall? You'll be surprised to know. 10. Russia. One of the largest whiskey consumers in the world, the export volume to Russia was around 42 million bottles in 2021. Though the figure might appear low compared to the other nations on the list, it marked a rise of 40.7% year-on-year over the 2020 figure of 30 million bottles. What is especially noteworthy is that Russia's 2021 figure marked a rise of 61%, or second highest after Brazil, when seen year-on-year over the 2019 figure. 9. Poland. Scotch exported to Poland in 2021 was just about 45 million bottles. The figure was 37 million in 2020, which means that the rise was 19.4% year-on-year. Interestingly, Poland also witnessed a rise year-on-year over 2019 by volume, when Scotch whiskey export to the country numbered 33 million. 8. Germany. As everyone knows, Germany has a large drinking population who love their beer. However, the country's Scotch whiskey consumption has also been quite steady. In 2020, the export volume to Germany stood at 43 million bottles. The following year, it rose by 3 million bottles, or 7.2%, to 46 million bottles. Compared to 2019, the volume in 2021 was 8% less. 7. Mexico. The Scotch whiskey export volume for Mexico was 48 million bottles in 2021. Some 13% more than in 2020 and only about 7% less than in 2019. Whiskey consumption in Mexico has climbed rapidly in less than 2 decades. According to a 2016 report by Whiskey InvestDirect, the country was the 24th biggest consumer of Scotch whiskey by value and 23rd by volume in 2006. Today, as the SWA data reveals, it is the 7th biggest. 6. Spain. Next on the list by volume is Spain. A 2019 report by Export.gov, a collaboration of U.S. government agencies with the International Trade Administration of the U.S. Department of Commerce, says that while tequila and gin are increasing in popularity in Spain, the most consumed spirit is whiskey. As per SWA data, the European country, which shares its eastern border with one of the world's largest wine-producing nations, France, recorded an export volume of 48 million bottles. This figure was 32% higher than the 2020 figure but 15% lower than in 2019. 5. Japan. Japan is among the top whiskey-consuming countries in Asia. In fact, the country's own alcohol exports have been rising with each passing year. Of this, the lion's share is held by Japanese whiskey, a style that is modeled after the Scotch whiskey process but has a unique character of its own. According to a Nikkei Asia report, government statistics indicate that Japan exported $340 million worth of Japanese whiskey in 2021. The figure marked a 70% rise over 2020 and was 4 times that of 2016. 4. Brazil. The 4th biggest Scotch-consuming nation by volume in 2021, Brazil recorded an export volume of 82 million bottles. More importantly, Brazil recorded the highest year-on-year jump in volume compared to both 2020 and 2019, indicating that the pandemic failed to create a dent in the country's enthusiasm to consume alcohol. While the 2021 figure was 80.5% more than that of 2022, it was 91% more than 2019. Yet, Brazil was not in the top 10 in both 2021 and 2020 when seen from the value of exports. 3. United States. The United States is one of the biggest countries consuming alcohol. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, around 66.3%, or 2/3, of American adults aged 18 and over consumed alcohol in 2017. It comes as no surprise that Scotch whisky sales in the US saw a high spike of 12.6% to record 126 million bottles sold as against 112 million bottles in 2020. 2. India. India consumed 136 million bottles in 2021. The figure was 44% higher than 2020's 95 million bottles and marked the second highest jump in consumption year-on-year after Brazil. Interestingly, the Scotch whisky sales in India, a country with a population of over 1.3 billion, by value are not as high as that by volume. 1. France. The French love their Scotch. In 2021, France consumed 176 million bottles, almost the same as in 2019 and 2020. As such, France has remained at the top of the Scotch whisky consuming countries for the last 3 years. The value of France's Scotch whisky import was worth £387 million in 2021, which was 2.8% higher than in 2020. And still, the figure was around 11% lower than in 2019, a sign of the significant drop in Scotch whisky exports during the pandemic. Thanks for watching the video. Please leave a like and subscribe as it really helps the channel.